Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. I'm at McCorkle Nursery down in Georgia. It's really an amazing nursery that Steph and I have been touring today. And right now we're looking at Encore Azaleas, and they may be probably one of the top growers in terms of numbers in the entire country and quality. They're beautiful, beautiful plants. And so there's a few I've never actually shot on the channel at all that are in bloom. We're here at the beginning of November, and here we are with them, all in flower. They're not all in peak flower necessarily. That never happens them all at the same time. There's 33 different varieties of Encore Azaleas. So they don't, but they all overlap a little bit in the fall. So I wanted to break the camera out and show these off. It's really amazing. They have packed all the plants together. So you're gonna notice that they've packed them all into tight rows because we're in November, and they'll have to put a cover over them in the containers at some point during the winter. They're in zone 8A down here in Georgia, 7B-ish 8A, and they won't need to cover them very much, but they'll have to cover them a little bit because they're in a container above the ground, okay? But we're in autumn carnation land here. There's 2 rows in front of me, and there's maybe 8 more rows behind me. It's literally thousands of them. Carnation's one of my absolute favorites. It's a double. Pink reminds me of some older varieties like pink ruffles, but this is like a pink ruffles that repeat blooms, and here it is November when it's in bloom. This one's hardy in zone 6 to 10. You'll notice that some of the Encores will be hardy in 7 to 10. Some of them are hardy in 6 to 10, some 6B to 10. So if you're in zone 6, you want to make sure you're getting ones that are appropriate for your area. They were just hybridized with ones that were slightly more cold hardy. So that's what you're seeing there. Carnation can get 4.5 feet tall and 4 feet wide. You can keep it anywhere in that range or even a little bit smaller. So this one's kind of an intermediate sized azalea. Of course, it's evergreen. Really nice, dark green, shiny foliage all season long while it's growing. And then once it gets cooler nights, which we just haven't had any yet here at the beginning of November here in the southeast so far, the foliage turns kind of a purplish hue, and it's quite attractive even in the wintertime. The flowers on Carnation are about 2.5 inches wide or so. We've moved over to a crop of Autumn Sangria. Autumn Sangria is a slightly hotter pink than the Autumn Carnation, and it has about a 3.5 inch flower on it. Very floriferous variety, also an intermediate size, so one that's going to get in that, you can maintain it between, let's say 3 feet and 5 feet in height and, 4 feet in width. It's kind of up to you. They can be pruned after the spring flowering. That's kind of the ideal time to prune these Encore Azaleas. That gives them time to flush back out, set flower buds, and bloom here again in the fall, and some remontant flowers even during the summertime. But Autumn Sangria has a really nice compact habit. If you need a faster growing one, I do think this one's a pretty vigorous grower in the landscape once it gets some roots under it. But this is, what a beautiful plant here right in November. Big crop of autumn royalty Encore Azaleas. This is another one with a very large flower on it. It's very similar to an old one called Formosa that's quite common and quite popular in southern landscapes. But of course, this is, again, kind of a reblooming version of Formosa Azalea. It's purple. It won't show up very well on camera. Purples never do. But it's not a dark purple, but it's certainly, you wouldn't mistake it for anything other than purple if you were standing here where I am right now. This is another one that's hardy in zone 6 to 10. It's in the intermediate group on the Encore Azalea website, but this thing's pretty vigorous. It's got this one's pretty fast growing. I've seen this one pretty big in the landscape. You can keep it anywhere between, 3.5 feet in height and, it's probably as high as 6 feet if you wanted to, and almost equally as wide. So anywhere in there, vigorous grower once it's established. 2 of my favorites side by side, kind of similar specs on both of them. They're both intermediate growers. The first one right here is a white one called Autumn Lily. And Lily has a pretty big, 3-inch, 3.5-inch white flower on it that occasionally has a little bit of purple on the flower. Great plant. We have this one in the landscape at home. Really nice, tight, compact habit. It will get some size on it, ultimately. 4.5 feet by 4 feet in width, something like that. Nice overall mounding habit. Again, they can be pruned after they bloom in the spring. So that one's white with the occasional little purple streak in it, or half purple flower, something like that. And then right next to it is Autumn Twist. Autumn Twist, both of these are hardy in zone 6 to 10, so these are more of the zone 6 hardy ones. Twist is just kind of all over the place. It's just a fantastic plant. Sometimes Twist can be almost all purple and remind you of just autumn royalty. Other times the flowers can be somewhat variegated, so you'll see purples and whites in them. And then other times they'll lean toward a really, really pale pink with a dark pink splotch toward the top of the flower. Really interesting. I mean, every plant, you would think that these are mixed up somehow, but that is absolutely what Autumn Twist does. And here we are in November when it's doing it. Of course, these are packed kind of tight together, so we're only, we're not seeing the flowers, all around the plant just because they've got them packed so tight. But so that's Autumn Twist you're looking at, and that was Autumn Lily, white variety that gets a similar size and shape as well. So we've missed peak flower on Autumn Bonfire, but Autumn Bonfire is one of the newer Encore Azaleas. Really compact habit, maybe 3 feet in height, 3 feet in width, something like that. This is another one that's hardy in zone 6 to 10. I think everyone we found so far has been a 6 to 10 variety. Really compact habit on this one. They're not having to do very much pruning on these at all, just to keep them as really tight, compact balls. They have true semi-double red flowers. You'll see a single here and there, and then you'll see lots of kind of semi-doubles on it. Again, we've passed peak at this point, but again, it's November, so they were probably blooming almost the entire month of October. The two newest ones are Starburst, which I think we're going to run into, and Majesty, which is a double purple. I haven't seen Majesty, so I don't think it's going to end up in this, but this was the one that was introduced right before that. All right, found a small group of Autumn Cheer. This one has 1 inch pink flowers, and it reminds me of some old-fashioned varieties. It has a really tight, compact habit, has small foliage, stays compact kind of all by itself. Really heavy flowering when it's in flower. So the flowers are slightly smaller, but they're in clusters. And so again, very heavy flowering in the spring, very heavy flowering in the fall. Again, almost November. But I really like this variety because it reminds me of some old-fashioned varieties that you would see, in full flower, but we get to enjoy them again in the fall. Autumn Amethyst. These are almost just passing peak flower, but you can see probably a week or so ago, this would have been almost solid purple. Amethyst gets flowers on them that are maybe inch and a half across, very heavy flowering. They're singles. One interesting thing about this one is this one turns that really nice purple hue in the winter time, and there's definitely a place for that in the garden. Just the winter interest of an azalea as well. This one will reach somewhere in the 3.5 to 4 foot range by 3.5 to 4 feet. But again, you could keep it slightly smaller if you wanted to. Very heavy flowering Autumn Amethyst. Next up is Autumn Empress. This is another one that turns really a purple color in the wintertime, and it's already on its way. It seems to not require as much cold temperatures to get that change underway. This one's hardy in 6B to 10, and it has kind of a semi-double, I would call it an orangey pink color. Again, very floriferous, and in fact, these are really heavily budded up. They want to just keep on blooming for a while at this point. I feel like this one's just kind of gotten started. Really, and it's picking up those winter tones with just a few cooler nights so far during the season. Very compact variety. You can maintain this one 3x3 in the landscape. Next up is another one I don't think I've ever covered. This is Autumn Bravo. Has really a very vibrant red flower on it, maybe slight orange tinge to it. Great plant this one will reach 4 feet high, 4.5 feet in width. Great foliage on it. Flowers are maybe 2 inches across in clusters on the top. And again, I've seen this one, and I've seen it in bloom, and at other times. I just hadn't covered it on the channel because I had never gotten it open at the time I had the camera in the hand. I really like this plant, and I can tell, I'm hopping around from azalea to azalea to azalea, and I can, you can really tell the foliage is great on this plant. So, even these repeat flowering azaleas, you're living with them a long time in between. And I think Buddy's done a really great job on not only flower, You know, and a lot of them are subtle differences in flower, or subtle differences in winter color, or subtle differences in cold. You know, this one's 6B to 10, right, Steph? Okay, on Autumn Bravo. You know, there's some subtle differences between some, but one thing they all have in common is they all have great clean foliage. Like I said before, the two newest Encore Azaleas are Autumn Starburst, which is the one I'm standing in now, that's been very picked over because it's very popular right now, and one called Autumn Majesty. It's a double purple. It's really a fantastic variety. I don't see any of them out here. My suspicion is the same with this group of Starburst, that they're being ordered pretty quickly because they are the latest and the greatest. This one there's one that's been around for a long time called Sunburst, and Sunburst kind of has the white in the center and the pinky color on the outside, and this one has the pink in the center and the white along the outside, and it's very, very striking. Great compact habit, you know, intermediate size, you know, 3.5 to 4 feet by 3.5 to 4 feet, hardy in zone 6 to 10. Really great plant. We have 3 of these in the landscape at home, and they were just starting to bloom when we left on this trip about a week and a half ago. So when we get back home, we should have quite a few more flowers than we have. Ours are still small, so they're not going to be, you know, it takes, you know, it can take a year or two to figure out what pattern you're going to have with your Encore Azaleas, just based on the spaces they're in. These do require more sun than traditional azaleas, and so I always have to say that in Encore videos. I think we always think of azaleas as shade plants. These need 4 to 6 hours of direct sun in order to perform at their best. We come straight from Starburst over to Sunburst, and on Sunburst you can tell, you know, you get a lot more pink where you get more white in the Starburst. We have 2 of these and 3 Starbursts planted together intentionally because the flowers are similar enough but different enough also to make the bed interesting. But these are also hardy in zone 6 to 10. And again, it's Sunburst and Starburst. Both get about the same size, but the variegation in the flower is slightly different. And I think planted together, it looks really great at the house. So I showed Autumn Lily earlier. It's an intermediate size white. This is Autumn Ivory, which is the dwarf white. So if you need a really compact white, and I think there's a place definitely for white azaleas in the landscape. These are super, super showy. Again, you can keep these between 2 feet in height and 3 feet in height, and anywhere between 2 and 3 feet. And with bright white flowers, you'll get them in the spring, you'll get them in the fall, and you'll get a few here and there in the summertime as well. And this one is hardy in 7 to 10, so not quite as cold hardy as Lily. If you're in zone 6, you'd probably want to go with Lily, and it'll get a little bit bigger. You're looking back at a full moon across the nursery here at McCorkle. We're thank you again to those folks for letting us stay out at their nursery until literally the sun was going down tonight. And I figured we show the moon on Autumn Moonlight. Autumn Moonlight's a great white repeat flowering azalea. It's got green in the center, and then it's white out on the edges. This one's hardy in zone 7 to 10. So again, if you're in zone 6, Lily is going to be your best option for the cold hardiest of the whites. But Moonlight's always so interesting. This is one, you know, there's 33 varieties, and there's some of them that I can just tell immediately, and Moonlight's one of those. If you ever see this flower with the green in the center and the white out on the edge, great compact variety. Next up is Autumn Embers. This is a really compact grower with semi-double orangey red flowers on it. I see this one a lot. This one is a very, very popular variety. Great dark green foliage. Again, great compact habit. This one's hardy in 6B to 10, so not up to 6A, but a little more cold hardy than some of the 7 to 10 varieties. And you can see it's got a semi-double orangey red flower, and here we are in the first week of November. Here's Autumn Chiffon. This is a very compact grower that you can keep in that 3 foot in height, 3 to 3.5 foot in width variety. It's another one of the variegated flowers, similar to Starburst or Sunburst. It's kind of a light pink on the edge and a darker pink in the center. Hardy in zone 7 to 10. Every time, this is another one that it's just stand out in the landscape. It's also one of the heavier summer flowering varieties, which is kind of interesting. You know, they all will bloom in the spring, they'll bloom in the fall, and they'll do some blooming in the summer. This one tends to do it a little more than others. So we have not run out of Encore Azalea varieties, but we have run out of sunlight. And so Steph's showing you the sunset back there as we stand in front of Autumn Sunset. This is an orangey red, very compact variety. Gets about 3 feet in height, 3.5 feet in width. Single flowers to kind of a few semi-doubles here or there, but it's really nice orangey red color, heavy blooming variety. When I've seen this one, almost every nursery I've ever seen it in, when it's in bloom, it's in bloom heavily. Great foliage on it, as you can see, and again, a really compact habit. Not a lot of pruning's been done on these newly. Most of these that we've been seeing were potted from 1 gallons into 3 gallons recently, and so they'll finish most of these in the early spring. Of course, we've shown you groups, and then we found a better group after that. Of course, that's the way anything works, and there's a lot more varieties here, but we are out of daylight. So I didn't know when I started this video back at McCorkle Nursery that we'd find some more Encores we had not covered in this video. The next day at Dudley Nursery, which isn't that far away. It's off Interstate 20 here in Georgia. Big wholesale nursery, beautiful place. This is Autumn Rouge, which is a dark pink semi-double. The flowers occur in these clusters that present themselves really nicely up on top of the plant. This one's hardy in 6B to 10, and a very, very vivid color, as you can see here in the video. It's very bright out here in front of me, so I hope it kind of shows up really how nice these full double flowers that are about 2.5 inches across, something like that. Autumn Rouge is an intermediate size, gets between 4.5 feet in height, maybe 4 to 4.5 feet in width. We found Autumn Angel over here at Dudley Nursery. This is the other white that's a dwarf. You have Ivory and then Angel. And Angel, similar to Moonlight, has a bit of green in the center of the flower. So it's a white single or kind of semi-double flower, very large flowers on it. You can see how compact the habit is. This one you can keep under 3 feet in height and under 3 feet in width. Hardy in zone 7 to 10. These flowers will reach about 3 inches in width, and here they are well into November in bloom. Still over here at Dudley's Nursery, this is Autumn Debutante. It's actually one of my absolute favorite Encore Azaleas. It's a single pink, kind of a pale pink, but some of them are closer to white than a dark pink, and then some of them get medium and even a dark pink one here and there. If you've seen the tree-formed Encore Azalea we have at the house, it's actually Autumn Debutante. This one is an intermediate grower. It can reach 4 feet in height and 4 feet in width, has great foliage, hardy in zone 6B to 10, but great compact habit. And I love the fact that sometimes, you just have this mix of almost different color flowers on the same azalea. Found a beautiful crop of Autumn Sundance. I don't know that I've ever shown this one on the channel. It has a dark pink flower, probably 3.5 inches across in big clusters. This is one of the dwarf varieties. You can keep this one 3 feet in height and 3.5 feet in width, something like that. It's hardy in zone 6 to 10. Has a great compact habit, and the foliage on this one turns kind of a reddish hue in the winter time. So it's got some great winter interest, but you can see how heavily this thing is blooming right at the beginning of November. We finally found some autumn fires near the end of this video. Autumn fire is a dwarf. You can keep this one under 3 feet in height, maybe 2.5 feet tall, 3 feet in width. To me, Autumn Fire has the reddest of all the red Encores. Bonfire is pretty red too, but I think Fire definitely hits that kind of true red. I don't know how well it'll show up in the video. This one turns a really nice purplish hue to it in the wintertime. The foliage does. And then of course it wakes back up in the spring, turns back green, and then blooms with the bright red flowers, and then again in the fall as well. Always loved this this variety, and everybody has it on their list, but we couldn't find them anywhere because I think they were selling out of them. These are hardy in zone 6 to 10, and again, one of my favorite of the dwarf Encore Azaleas. Latham's is another wholesale nursery. A lot of landscape traffic, a lot of landscapers from the Charlotte area shop here, and then garden centers as well. This is Autumn Coral. This will be the last one we do here at Latham's. Autumn Coral is obviously a coral pink flower. This is one of the heavier summer flowering varieties. So spring, summer, and fall. Again, you can see the nice compact habit on Autumn Coral. This one's going to get 2.5 feet in height, maybe 3 feet in width. So this is another one of the doubles. Great dark green leaves. This one's hardy in 7 to 10. Thank you guys for following along with the channel. This is Encore Azaleas at McCorkle Nursery. Thanks for watching.